I broke some news yesterday on Twitter. A little birdie told me that unfortunately it may be a while yet before we see former AEW World Champion MJF back in the ring. I can tell you that he had to undergo surgery on the injured shoulder that he went into World's End with against Samoa Joe. I have not heard about any timetable for what his recovery will be, but he tried the physical therapy route. He was hoping he could avoid going under the knife. Physical therapy did not work, and so he had no choice but to have the surgery. When I interviewed him in December before the Joe match, he told me that he was undergoing different types of treatment for his torn labrum, PRP being one of them, which is platelet-rich plasma injections, which is supposed to help speed up the healing process. I would assume that was part of his rehab even after the match. But this is obviously a blow to AEW. You know, as stacked as their roster is, MJF is still one of their biggest stars. He was their world champion for over a year, and he moved numbers for them, especially with their pay-per-views. The Undisputed Kingdom storyline, it's died a death, with him and Adam Cole on the shelf. The good news is his mouth still works, so they don't necessarily need to wait until he's 100% healthy to get him back on TV. I think WWE has proven that with CM Punk. Same thing, his mouth still works. Now, you obviously don't want to rush the man back if it's going to slow down the recovery process, and that sounds like a pretty brutal injury. But maybe we get to see him back in a non-wrestling role soon. He's not going to be cleared for a while. But here's hoping for a speedy recovery. He's got that match waiting with Adam Cole. If the two of them ever get healthy again, you got that match. You got Swerve Strickland. They teased. Remember that segment on Dynamite? Before World's End, there was a segment in the back where MJF confronted Swerve, and they had a little face-to-face. Could always do that match. I'd love to see MJF and Will Ospreay mix it up. He will not have any shortage of people to work with when he comes back. And speaking of Will Ospreay, last Sunday was billed as a dream match between he and Bryan Danielson at AEW Dynasty. They had ungodly high expectations going into that match, and they managed to deliver and then some. They had the greatest match in the history of AEW that I have ever seen. And I hold that Iron Man match last year between Danielson and MJF in pretty high regard. So I don't say that lightly. But those two went out there with the perfect crowd into everything they did. It had this atmosphere. I would have loved to have been in the building for it. And they went out there and they had an absolute classic. Ospreay gets the win, but does so after using a Tiger Driver that Danielson sold like he was dying after. And now the storyline is that Ospreay has sworn off the Tiger Driver 91 because of what happened to Danielson, even on Dynamite, where he teased using it. He was in the Casino Gauntlet match that he won. He stopped himself. And Don Callis brought it up later on. He said he wanted him to use it. And Ospreay said, no, I can't, I won't. Ospreay has now earned the right with that win on Wednesday to challenge Roderick Strong at Double or Nothing for the international title. Does this mean they're holding off on Ospreay challenging for the world title at Wembley Stadium? Not necessarily. He could win the international title and still go after the world title. It's not like we have not had champions over the years in multiple promotions win a lower title and then challenge for and win the world title and then have to give up the other one. We could get champion against champion at Wembley with Will Ospreay against Swerve Strickland. That's the match that I would like to see. It wouldn't do Roddy any favors to drop the title so soon after winning it. But I'm less concerned about him, and I'm more concerned about Ospreay just being in that Wembley main event, because I think it's the right place for it. They had Ospreay go over on Bryan Danielson. I don't see him losing to Roderick Strong.